We talked about Bergeron having like one of the best seasons of this millennium. There's a bit of a conversation about him not coming back. We don't necessarily believe that's the case. I feel like he'll probably take a discount and come back, and the Bruins will be really good again. But Marchand and McAvoy are going to be out for the first 2 months of the season because they're both getting surgery.
And it just came out today that Patrice will be too.
Is he?
He's out for like 10 weeks with like a torn labrum.
Okay, so he's going to have a bit of a difficult offseason, maybe slow out of the gates. Matt Grizzlick's going to miss the first month of the season. Even if Bergeron comes back, which like we said he likely will, the loss of these other three players can't be underestimated at all. Can we maybe see the Bruins being in a little bit of trouble starting next season, at least out of the gate?
Without a doubt. This is all assuming that Patrice Bergeron comes back. And when I was doing the research for this episode, I was assuming he was coming out for opening day. He's now going to probably come back a month later because of this injury, right? The Bruins are in ridiculous amounts of trouble. Everyone, let's talk about this. Everyone always says the Bruins are going to be bad this year. They're going to be bad. I mean, every year, and they never are. Why do you think that is?
I think it's for a couple of reasons. One, their big players have been able to stay healthy.
Yep.
And also they have this sort of way about them where you can, maybe besides the top two lines, you can throw any dude, like random NHL name generator, throw a guy in the third, fourth line or wherever you want. Like they play a Boston way and they fill the gaps pretty well. I think those two reasons are big reasons. I think the first one about health is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I think I really agree with your first one. I think it's because every single year the top guys are healthy and they run through line one.
Yeah.
That top line plays like 26 minutes a night, and Charlie McAvoy, getting into his prime now, is playing almost 30.
He's so good.
Right? So it doesn't matter how bad this team is. It doesn't matter because when your first line is that good and they play half the game, like no wonder this team is playing so well. Like the average talent on the ice at any given time is among the top in the league because contrary to a team like the Leafs who like to spread out minutes, the Boston Bruins run through lines 1 and 2. And now that those guys are gone, there is going to be a huge, huge hole. Like, let's look at this. Patrice Bergeron had 25 goals and 40 assists this year, statistically having the best defensive season for a forward in 10 years. We talked about this. Brad Marchand, 32 goals, 48 assists, and will get Selke votes this year, I think.
You got some Selke votes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he did. My bad. Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand combined for 23% of all goals scored this year for the Boston Bruins. That is if you think that the Boston Bruins score 4 less goals a game, now they're scoring 1 less every single game. That is a lot of 1-goal games now that are swaying the other way, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have that much scoring, and I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And when we looked at McAvoy this year having a career year, he might be the best shutdown defenseman in the NHL.
He's unbelievable. He's a top 5 defenseman all day.
I think he led the league this year in expected goals against 5-on-5. The only guy that was better than him was Jared Spurgeon. I think, like, weirdly.
Yeah.
But this is just what I mean. The Boston Bruins are good every year because their top guys are just so elite, and they literally play every single minute. So now when all of these guys are done, like they might not make the playoffs next year.
Well, and that's the thing. People might be thinking, and understandably so, I've said that phrase I think 12 times this episode, they're gone only for the first 2 months. There's so much time. But that first 2 months are really important because they help you create that buffer, right? We saw how much being bad for the first 2 to 3 months hurt the Islanders this year, right? If you're missing, arguably, I would say Matt Grizzlick's a top 5-6 important player for them on that back end. I know they have Hampus Lindholm now, but Grizzlick has been really important for them. If you're missing 3, if not 4 of your most important players to start the season, right? The start of the season gives you that buffer, but it also gives you, if you're good, that sort of that groove, that consistency, that motivation, or that confidence to keep it going. I don't think it can be overstated how important a good start to a season is. And if you're missing any combination of these guys for the first month or even 2, it's going to be tough for them to get going, especially on an aging team, to have to fill that gap up at the back half of the season. You're going to be relying on them. not minor surgery that they're coming off of. Marchand's getting both hips operated on. I think Charlie McAvoy's getting his labrum in his shoulder redone. These are not minor injuries. It's gonna be tough for them. They're probably gonna prove us wrong because they are Boston. I just don't think they're gonna have it as easy as they're used to.
Are you reading my notes?
No.
Because great minds think alike. Dude, you literally said everything that I was going to say. I mean, like we said, they're out for 25% of the year. The Islanders were a great example of that, just like you said. Like, did they make the conference finals not this year, the year before?
I think I don't know if it was back to back.
It was back to back. I just don't know if it was last year.
Yeah.
It was. So back to back. And this year, when they start the year so bad, like, there's no coming back from that. You said it so well. And then the other thing that you also said is, like, it's not like Brad Marchand, McAvoy, and Bergeron are missing 25% of the year and then they're coming back 100% coming off the flu. These guys are having bilateral hip repairs.
That's crazy.
For Marchand.
He's 33 now?
McAvoy is having, was it his labrum that might have been Bergeron? I don't know. Like, they're going to need 10 or so games back to get into it. And even then, Marchand may never be 100% again.
Yeah, bilateral hip surgery is crazy. I remember Ryan Kessler had hip surgery towards the end of his career. And granted, Ryan Kessler had a lot of other injuries to go alongside that. But I remember that surgery was the one that really sort of was like, oh boy, Kessler's on his way out. And Marchand and Kessler certainly have different careers, but that's just trying to demonstrate how important your hips are. And when you get them operated on, you may not be the same after.
Right, and to make matters worse, like if they were playing in the Pacific Division, I think they would make the playoffs.
Yeah,
but they're playing in the hardest division in hockey, like maybe in pro sports next to the AL East. Like, this division was loaded this year.
Yeah.
And if you start the year at 500 after 25 games, you're not making the playoffs. And these guys might start the year like down severely under 500.
I think the Ottawa Senators and the Red Wings are going to be better this year.
Yeah, Boston's not going to make the playoffs next year.
Even Buffalo's had good towards the end of the season.
Yep.
Like, some of those bad teams, let's say, there's reason to believe they're going to be better this year.
Yeah, I'm worried for Boston. I'm worried. We'll see what they end up doing.
Yeah. Like I said, they're probably going to come back, make the playoffs, and beat the Leafs in round one, and we're going to be getting destroyed if there's people listening and saving this clip for later. But logically, it looks like they're going to be in trouble.